2018, it was estimated that more than half of large organizations competed using advanced analytics and proprietary algorithms. Now, despite this, data analytics is sometimes seen by businesses as being too complicated. Simply put, many businesses see advanced analytics and data science as being too costly, time consuming, and inaccurate to justify more than a token effort at implementation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dalani. However, with more and more data being generated every day, roughly 2.5 quintillion bytes of data daily, many organizations are discovering that they can gain a real advantage over the competition simply by mining any and all available information by using advanced analytics for useful insights. But I guess in today's fast-paced business world, the ability to make quick and informed decisions can be a difference between success and failure. But what does this mean in plain English? So today we have Santhanakrishnan Ramabadran, Head of Analytics Consulting at Tiger Analytics, to help us understand why companies should increasingly rely on advanced analytics, technology tools, AI to guide their strategic decisions. So hi Santhanakrishnan, how are you doing?
Hey Priya, I'm doing great. Looking forward to the next hour or so.
Yes, definitely. It's a pleasure to have you with us on our podcast. So I think, let's start by telling our listeners more about what exactly is Tiger Analytics, what are some of the solutions it offers, and, what's its specialization.
Right. So Priya, Tiger Analytics is a high quality provider of analytics, data and analytics services. And we do this in many ways, right? And what is also nowadays known as the larger AI space, data and AI space. So we offer clients, we help them build the data platforms on top of which a full range of analytics can be delivered, whether it is the classical business intelligence, the BI, all the way to the AI side of analytics. So foundational data platforms, building top quality AI engines, if I may call so, that is something that we help clients with. And then not just top of the engines, but build the whole consumption interfaces so that the business users can take full advantage of their data as well as the AI or BI or AI implementations on top. Now, these can be done in many ways. You could offer these as services to clients in a turnkey basis where they put out a high-level problem statement, you break it down, come out with a solution design, build out the whole full stack business solution, as we call it, in using product management type of methods. Or it could be in the form of helping our clients or operating as an extended team, what we call as co-owned programs, where both client teams as well as our teams operate side by side in building out these solutions in a very, very scalable as well as agile manner to balance out both scale and speed. Right. So that's in short, or that's how I would put what we do. And we do this across a whole range of industries as well as whole range of functional areas. So that's a short summary. We'll drill into it as needed along the way.
Yeah, well, definitely we'll dive deep into it and understand more about these innovations. But I think before we started with our podcast, we discussed some basic things, and you also mentioned that you have your own podcast. And to be honest, I'm pretty curious to know about it. So, and I think our listeners would also like to know more about yourself, your journey till date, and your role and contribution towards the company. So, if you can highlight that as well.
Sure, Priya. So we talked about what Tiger does, right? Building out these data platforms and the whole BI or AI platforms on top of it, and build out consumption layers across different industries and functions. Now, in order to deliver that, we look at two key capabilities coming together. One capability, if I were to imagine that as a capability pillar, is what we call as the technical or technology capability pillar. This includes so many things in the data and AI spectrum. Data engineering, data science, ML and AI, right? The ability to build out these, what we call as data scientists, AI developers, if I were to put it that way. Then AI engineers who string it all together, right? Entire end-to-end data to ML to AI to the app interfaces, the AI engineers, and more, right? Cloud, there are so many things, infrastructure, security, and so on and so forth. These are all together these together form what we call as the technology capability pillar. And these are top-notch technical experts. In fact, one thing that I truly feel very, very proud about is the depth in technology that Tiger has built through meticulous grooming of its talent on that pillar. The close counterpart to that is the other pillar, what we call as the consulting and program orchestration. In order to deliver this full stack business solutions, you need to understand the industries that we serve very well, the functional areas that we serve very well, so that you play what we call as the liaison role between the various technical teams that need to come together to pull these solutions and our clients, and often business stakeholders on the client side, as well as the product management teams on the client side, right? Like, so we need to match up with what we call as the consulting and program orchestration teams. Here again, there are different flavors of consulting. We call as analytics consulting, technology consulting, experience consulting, which is more around the focus on the UI, UX aspects. In certain areas, deep domain consulting, right? So my role in Tiger is to give shape to these consulting capabilities, specifically focused around analytics consulting, as well as acting as the leadership mentor for a few other areas within the consulting and program orchestration team. So this is very important, and I do this more focus on the India teams, because we have very, very strong consulting teams in the markets facing our clients. It is extremely important that we do that in the delivery teams as well, so that everybody thinks business, even though our core expertise will be in the technology capabilities all the way from AI to data platforms. It's extremely important that we build the consulting and program orchestration muscle, so in the delivery teams also, so that we think business and deliver what we deliver better. So that's my role in the organization, shaping the consulting and program orchestration capabilities with a focus on the delivery teams.
Great. That's quite impressive. And thank you for sharing that. And I think moving ahead, in today's economy, data is changing the way companies perceive businesses. I mean, people in AI are working together to strengthen the capabilities of what humans can do to create value in the current business landscape. And even experts are working to predict the use of AI at a large scale and add its importance to the global economy. However, I think instead of focusing on whether AI will replace humans, the discussion or the conversation should surround around how AI and humans should work together to create meaningful and workable business solutions. So we want to understand from you, why do you believe that artificial intelligence is essential for shaping modern business strategies?
Sure. A very good question, Priya. In fact, I'll go back in time. And so I've been in this space, data, AI, advanced analytics, as it is to be called, and then various names, right? Over the last about 22 years for now, just in this space. All right. So I've interacted with businesses throughout across markets. The understanding of what data and advanced analytics, AI, whatever we call data science, ML, AI can do for businesses, that understanding is now all pervasive. Earlier, it used to be, right, when I meet clients, you need to first explain how is analytics or advanced analytics different from BI, right? So today, that understanding, even a lot of our business stakeholders have deep understanding of how to take advantage of AI. So it has moved from being experimental initiatives, what we call as proof of concepts, which may or may not be scaled, to now front and center of many organizations' strategy to differentiate themselves, right? Data and AI is seen as a competitive differentiator, right? So, and those who do this very well have a very distinct competitive advantage, right? Like, go back to a strategy, business strategy, and so on and so forth. Now, however, there's a lot that need to come together to make this happen, right? One is the intent, of course, at executive leadership levels. That is already front and center, right? In fact, AI now, data and AI now are boardroom conversations versus some side conversations like decades back. Now, from there, it is slowly starting to trickle down in terms of the right organization structure with a very dedicated focus around data and AI. Many organizations now have chief data and analytics officers, or that the charter of that particular office is taken care of by a combination of CDOs, CAOs, CTOs, CIOs. That is one side. Like I said, in how we look at talent, that is the technology side of it. Equally important is how these technology, data and AI technology teams collaborate with business stakeholders. So many organizations have set up structures where the technology capabilities and the business stakeholders handshake through the right kind of product managers in between, data and AI product managers. So businesses, especially the Fortune 100s, many of whom we work with, Fortune 1000 organizations, they have clearly thought this through all the way from executive levels to defining the structure and having the right leaders in place. And the impact itself can be across the board, whether it is in terms of customer, CRM, marketing, supply chain, risk management. So many areas now can be significantly transformed through data and AI. So it's kind of very important, and that is why we see many of the businesses already thinking about it top down, bottom up, and both ways, and clearly working on executable plans, right? Not just talking about it.
Well, yes, I think you mentioned it rightly that data and AI both are so important in today's business landscape. But talking about it, I think new technologies like generative AI, which is like the buzzword these days, are these are all emergingly ever increasingly. So these advancements hold immense potential to change our operations, but I think many companies fall into the trap of waiting for a technology to be fully proven before adopting it. And I would like to quote proven in double inverted commas. So this hesitation can be detrimental, putting companies at a very significant competitive disadvantage. Like waiting for Gen AI to be fully mature before crafting a strategy is a recipe for missed opportunities. And like any powerful tool, I think Gen AI's actual value lies in aligning with a specific business goals. How do you think that we spoke about data and AI, but now we have Gen AI. So how do you think that Gen AI or Gen AI Plus will impact this space?
Yeah, interesting question, but I slightly differ from what you said in terms of people waiting for the technology to mature, and I'm sure you're yourself witness to this as well. Nobody is waiting for Gen AI to be mature, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is you trying to download Gemini or Copilot on your personal mobile phone and playing with it, or business stakeholders wanting to take a spin, nobody's waiting for these technologies or even the ethical guardrails to be fully in place. Everybody's curious, and I think many of these Gen AI platforms or the providers have done a fantastic job of creating an excitement at a global scale, right? So, if any, the problem is the reverse. There are so many experiments going on. How do you scale them in a way it is safe, safe from multiple perspectives, right? You don't leak your organizational intellectual property inadvertently to externally hosted Gen AI platforms. How do you do that? Then reduce the bias and all the ethical guardrails that you need to have in place. Those things are evolving, but people are curious, doing experiments. But I think scalable, how do you scale the impact Gen AI can deliver? There are some fantastic examples that we see, of course, collaborating with clients, where we've been able to transform customer experience, whether it is in terms of example, for fashion apparel, health, beauty, cosmetics, those kind of highly intimate categories in the retail and consumer goods side. We've been witness to, not just witness, a close participant in building, experimenting, and safely scaling some of these solutions, right? So, and if at all, I have to kind of notice one trend. Many of the customer facing, whether it is customer service or customer experience delivered through many digital commerce kind of businesses, whether it is on the retail side across many categories, those are places where we're fast seeing the scalable deployments of GenAI, and that area is maturing. But there are some other areas where it is kind of still catching up, right? Like, for example, think about areas like healthcare, right? We need to be hyper careful not to kind of put out half-ready models or models that are not fully ready. It will probably go through the same scrutiny as the drug development process goes through in terms of FDA scrutiny and so on and so forth. That level of scrutiny, that part is still evolving, but very interesting days, especially in terms of how GenAI is fast scaling and how do you kind of convert experiments to prioritize which ones can scale, which ones will have to be sequenced to be scaled up later because the area itself is evolving. Those are the kind of interesting problem statements that businesses will be tackling. Priya, those are my top of the mind thoughts, and I don't know if you have any specific follow-up question on that one.
I think that justifies enough, and I completely agree with you that it's really important that organizations focus on how they can scale up the impact of Gen AI. And I think
just want to call out, sorry, Priya, one aspect of it is, in fact, this is something that we're noticing. I mean, I just came back from a couple of weeks of meeting clients in many of the markets that we serve. You can think about an enterprise where you could have multiple Gen AI models, just like you have an AI model, right? Something could be a fraud detection model, something could be a forecasting model, something could be a segmentation model. These are different models for different purposes in a classical ML AI world or a computer vision model. Likewise, even Gen AI models, there could be different language models for different purposes that a particular enterprise is building. One of the questions is also then, how do you ensure that all of these are managed, monitored, built, tuned in a consistent way? What is our platform, right? Like you can't be just putting these models in different places within the organization because it can become a nightmare managing them. How to bring it all together and manage them is also one of the big talking points in many of the businesses today. Back to you, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that you highlighted that aspect as well. And I think when we're talking about, bringing potential adjustments and improvements across different industries, I think AI has already been in a lot of places, transforming different aspects of businesses, even, detecting and preventing threats or vulnerabilities within the organizations. So, I was just reading across about this, and I found that 79% of CEOs believe that AI investments significantly enhance business efficiencies. So while you were talking about different aspects, one of my follow-up question was if you could provide some, real world examples of how AI has driven, strategic decision making, which has helped your clients or probably, has worked out at Tiger Analytics as well.
Right. Let me take the example of, I briefly touched about many customer-facing businesses, right? Consumer-facing businesses. So you would have shopped online quite a bit by now, or at least over a decade or so. One of the pain points that all of us would have experienced is when you go to any of these e-commerce sites, either the product picture is not representative of what you are looking for, or there is not so much of clear detail about the product that is available. And this kind of means sometimes customers or prospects are just skimming over, right? It's a big pain area. Call it as how's your product properly represented in the e-commerce channel, whether it is direct to consumer or e-commerce platforms. This is a huge area of impact because the way in many places it is still done is you have manual effort writing up these product descriptions, product attributes, listing down all the key attributes. It's a highly manual task. Of course, there are ways in which this information can be captured in some kind of a data file and uploaded, but still what goes in is significantly manual. Also think about product imagery. Imagery, you need a proper photo shoot and whatnot, right? This is an area where we are seeing some very interesting work where based on a combination of computer vision plus GenAI, both GenAI for vision, GenAI for text, if I were to put it that way, through a combination of this, you can significantly improve how the product is represented, whether it is in a client's own e-commerce business, direct-to-consumer website, or with their e-commerce partner. significant work is happening in this area, and the impact is you have more customer conversions, more eyeballs or more traffic to product pages, more conversions, and these have been measured and tangible results have been achieved, right? So this is a big area where we are seeing both in terms of product enrichment, both in terms of the text content as well as the imagery. Imagine if you were to kind of your business is manufacturing a perfume, and you just have a plain white background of that perfume. Can you generate attractive imagery that adequately represent what the product stands for, as well as gives pleasant looking imagery that kind of gives a consumer a good feel for how the product is used, right? Like, or on what environs, right? So that can be significantly automated using a combination of vision-based GenAI, in addition to generating a very beautiful description about the product, calling out the key attributes. This is a big impact, right? That's one area. Customer service itself, and being able to resolve GenAI being deployed with proper guardrails in terms of the language appropriateness and other ethical guardrails. Customer service deployments where, in fact, there are surveys you may have also read where slowly customers calling into a customer service center are able to significantly see a GenAI augmented customer service function to be slightly more, what I call, able to understand and resolve their issues better, or what they're looking for better, right? Like those areas where we've also deployed some specific solutions in customer service, as well as I said, consumer facing retail and e-commerce kind of businesses. And then, of course, there is another big area is supply chain. For example, if you're a supply chain planner or a demand planner or a supply planner in a manufacturing organization, there are so much of your products orders in transit. Knowing quickly the status of orders going to be delivered on time, either to your customers or inbound. If there are delays, what are the root causes for those delays? Being able to interact with the data in an iterative manner through intuitive questions. This is another area in the supply chain side. And there are some nicely evolving areas as well, where it is not just one question at a time. You give a broad problem statement. For example, why is my sales for this category down month over month? And we built solutions working with clients where the problem is broken down, the right kind of data, whether it is a sales, promotions, pricing kind of actions. The GenAI agent is able to run the models and prepare a presentation pack that goes back to a brand manager or a VP of account management, which clearly tells that, hey, here are the possible causes, right? So very, very fascinating examples across these areas. Just a few examples, if I were to call it. Of course, I'll not be able to call out names or share more details, but hopefully this is indicative. It gives you a feel for what kind of use cases we are solving.
Well, yes, definitely. And I think it quite very well highlight the impact of AI across different strategic areas and how it can prove significant value for businesses. So I think it's very important, and organizations shouldn't underestimate the potential of artificial intelligence for that matter. But I think when we were talking about AI and business strategy, I have come across people asking that, can AI develop a comprehensive, actionable, and a concrete business strategy? Now, many experts say that probably not, because before using AI to help with business strategy, it is very crucial that organizations develop an AI strategy for the business. Now, this requires deep understanding of the intended applications of AI solutions, as well as the organizational problems that it can help solve. But more than that, what we need is data. And I think in earlier of your responses, mentioned about data and AI being two important, crucial factors in terms of how you want to implement AI. So, we want to understand what is the role of data, or how do you think that, data sits across at the intersection of AI and business strategy?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's far more fundamental, right? Like if your data that you feed into models is partial. Obviously, you're going to have partial visibility in terms of what's going on. And any insights and predictions you derive out of that is also going to be partial, in the sense that only part useful. Maybe there are enough number of times your predictions are wrong as much they are right, or even more wrong, right? Like, so I think goes without saying that data is an integral part of this overall. That's why many of our clients, right, we talk about data and AI are so next to each other that clients are now talking about CDAO, right? Chief Data and Analytics Officers, all right, or data and AI kind of office. So it is so closely located because a lot of this data goes and powers BI or AI solutions, and having these, whether it is data platforms or AI platforms or Gen AI platforms being built, these teams next to each other makes immense sense, right? So that's still on the capabilities, or how do you think about the technology side. From a business decision making, one of the things that we're seeing is data is important, but there is also quite a lot of it right now. And businesses, for example, if I'll kind of probably even quote an example where you used to work with a pharma client, right? And their Salesforce head of Salesforce had the person's complaint was, hey, we have too much of data and too much of reports. It is almost like, for knowing what's going on in the business, I need to kind of look through maybe hundreds of pages of reports, right? So from a business standpoint, if you look at from an AI and analytics standpoint, more data is better because it helps kind of train the models better, more comprehensive, eliminates blind spots for these models. But when you look at business, they're not going to consume raw data. They're going to consume insights. They're going to consume predictions. They're going to consume prescriptions, if you will, right? Like, or suggestions of what they could do. So that means, and when data goes into business, it cannot be just raw data. It has to be processed, ready to act on, reliable insights. And there's a lot that goes on. And it is not just the data and analytics team's responsibility. Business will also have to partner, because sometimes the data that is sitting in data warehouses or systems like SAP, for that to get mapped to what the business wants, there is some kind of data stewardship that needs to come from business also. But wherever this partnership works very well, for example, the sales team working with the data team to also define what data is important for them, and what is the definition of these various data elements, and they handshake with the data teams. Both the data, the quality of the data, and the business readiness of the data immensely goes up, which means the reports, the insights, the predictions you're going to generate are going to be far more accurate. There are going to be less discussions around whether this report is accurate or not, and more discussion around how we can condense these reports into actionable insights and then provide those very specific action recommendations for business. And that's extremely valuable, because what we call is these insights needs to be ready to act on. And if they're ready to act on, you make those right decisions, you act on those decisions, and value is a natural outcome, or when you have good quality data and good quality insights on top of it. So I don't know if kind of you see the difference, right? More data is important when you look at reports in AI. Converting that data into your actionable insights, very, very condensed, is important for the business. And that can come only when the data, AI, and business teams are partnering heavily. It is not just one person's job. It takes a great deal of collaboration.
Right, definitely. I agree with you. I think, we have been talking about the massive influx of data, but, how to use that data is also important. So I think we need processed and ready to act on insights, because I think that's what going to help businesses make the right decisions. And of course, when you're sitting with the AI data, and the business strategy team should sit together in order to make the best use of data, and that way deploy the right models and comprehensive AI models that way. But on the flip side, I think the number of negative stories about AI has also increased. Now, tech entrepreneur Elon Musk has even stated that AI is more dangerous than even nuclear weapons. So I think there have been numerous cases in which advanced or AI-powered algorithms were abused or have even caused damage. So the question is, how can we make AI as transparent as possible? So how do you think we can do that? If you can quickly help us with probably like steps or some important things that organization should take into picture.
Good question. I think some amount of skepticism about anything new or breakthrough developments till humans figure out what's the right way to leverage is welcome. Right? That skepticism in a way helps build the right amount of caution. Right? But to answer your question, in fact, recently I remember writing out either a blog or an article on this subject of what we call as broadly the responsible AI or even ethical AI kind of. There are so many aspects to it. I'll probably call as responsible AI. It needs to play out at three different levels. One is like everything, any of these tools, right? The intellect is a tool in the direction of intent, right? And that's extremely important. So when the models are built, right, foundational models, I'm taking GenAI, but this holds good for other forms as well. When the models are built, it has to be thoroughly checked, and that is what we call as responsible AI at the research and development level. Whenever these very massive global scale models are built, that there is a lot of effort that goes in. In fact, you would have seen you quoted Elon Musk a couple of times in this. There was so much of discussion around open AI around this topic, right? Like there was like, a bit of controversy, debates around it, but all the debates surrounded about how do we make AI safe for humans. So that is one level. So the research and development stage. Second is what do you do with these models, right? Once these models are out, there are going to be data scientists, AI scientists sitting in businesses or companies like Tiger Analytics working on behalf of their clients, building solutions, business solutions using these kind of GenAI models or models that we are going to develop ourselves. There is a ton of education that happens to our data scientists, AI engineers on what are the responsible AI guidelines. Now that involves many things, right? Just to name a few, how to check for bias. And this has always been the case, right? I used to build models, fraud prediction models, or credit card offer kind of models. You need to make sure that you are in compliance with Fair Credit Act, in the sense that you do not discriminate either intentionally or even inadvertently. Do not end up, these models should not end up discriminating against a segment of people, right? And that segment could be defined in many ways, right? Either gender, age, ethnicity, all those biases that we check for. And that holds good. And these are conscious effort that we put, right? Like it goes into how your model samples are representative enough. You do a lot of check on the data even before you start building AI models, whether these regular AI, data science, ML kind of models, or the Gen AI type models, right? Or when you build solutions using pre-built models, you have to check for these biases. So, and there are a whole host of it. And then it is not just while building these solutions, there is a regular monitoring of what we call generally as model drift, right? And that is that is applicable. In fact, there are clear frameworks that have been developed on how to check for model performance drift, whether it is a fraud prediction model or whether it is a customer segmentation model, or for that matter, a Gen AI based models. There are frameworks as to continuously monitor them for any drift in how they make decisions or biases, or the drift in the underlying data, because a lot of these models get refreshed on an ongoing basis. Gen AI models, the foundation models, are not rebuilt. However, the incremental tuning or the kind of RAG kind of approaches, they have to be continuously monitored, so that any data drift should not create any decision bias. And these are just top of the mind or just a few aspects. There's an elaborate framework that each one of the organizations, whether it's Tiger Analytics or our peers in the industry or these large model developers, they follow. Just some top of the mind thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. And, I think business models are evolving and even undergoing a transformational change like never before. So it's very important as to how you're building your models. But one last question for you, and that would be, what are some of the advice that you would like to give to other CEOs or business leaders in terms of um, AI and business strategy?
I mean, like, not so much of an advice. Of course, we are partners, advisors in a business consulting kind of lens. I will put it to these three pieces, right? Having the right organization structure to build these data and AI capabilities, either it is in house or through the partnership with the right kind of partners. One is developing the core technology capabilities in data and AI, because that space is fast evolving. You need some focused approach, and that focused approach could be having key leaders within the organization and then working with an extended set of partners, right? So that is one aspect. So you have your finger on the pulse on in terms of the technology capabilities in the data and AI side. More importantly, the how do you take these capabilities, string them together into business solutions, and how do you kind of, and that space is called as data product management or data and AI product management or ML product, however you call that, right? So but it is not just a data or an AI or an ML product. That is a full stack business solution with data, BI or AI algorithms running on top, the kind of user interface, and finally servicing a particular business area. So how do you kind of bring them all together with the right product management approach? That's another area to focus on. Finally, now you have these technology capabilities, you're building these solutions, driving, measuring adoption and value realization. Because it's very easy to get carried away by all of these fast moving technology landscape. But the business basics is always that how do you measure value? And that value measurement has multiple elements. Just are businesses using these tools? How is it making difference in their lives? What is the kind of measurable value we are able to get? Because that then gives you a measure of return on investment. Because whether it is data, cloud, or AI, these are not cheap, right? In the sense that cost wise, it takes a great deal of investment, and therefore a very disciplined approach to measuring return on investment on data and AI initiatives is important. That that is there is a set of qualitative as well as quantifiable measures. So if these three things are in place, the capabilities, how do you string these capabilities together into full stack business solutions that could be imagined as products, and how do you measure the value both in terms of qualitative adoption, which also can be quantified, and the tangible value realization. These three things, if somebody is able to consistently figure out, it will add value. Now, the underlying piece for all of this, for this to happen, all the three to happen, building organization structure founded on collaboration is important, because it's not just a few people who can make a difference. It's almost like all pervasive across the organization. How do you educate on the need for collaboration? If you do not collaborate, either you will be able to, a small set of team is trying to centrally do everything, but that cannot scale much because you have just a small set of capabilities. If you move everything and saying, okay, let each team does its own, then probably you're able to move at the speed till a certain point. But then these technologies and things are complex. At some point in time, you're going to hit the wall in terms of the ability to scale or ability to move at speed. So collaboration is key. So those are the four aspects that I will call out, Priya. Capabilities, product, full stack business solution development, measuring adoption, and ensuring that there is adequate collaboration between the team so that both speed and scale can be achieved, because it can significantly add to the competitive differentiation for businesses if done right.
Right. I think I couldn't agree more with you. And it seems that AI will truly help humans to augment the power of knowledge. And I think with the growing competition, it will be developed to a much better form and rate to help make strategic decisions in the modern business world. And I think gradually or slowly, our businesses are beginning to understand the implications of AI powered systems that go far beyond the complicated and complex challenges. So, with this, it is plausible to imagine the surprising transformations in business processes, but researching the pros and cons and managing the risks and ethical concerns should also be a priority for organizations. Well, thank you so much, Santhanakrishnan, and it was a pleasure having you with us on a podcast. I think we delved deep into the business strategy, AI, and data analytics, and how organizations can leverage all these three to gain a competitive advantage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priya. Great to be on this discussion. Thank you so much.
Great. So this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcasts, and you can view and listen all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.